So we've done quite a few things already here. Let's look back at our goals for today and realize that I may have skipped goal number 3 and left it almost to last. But this is a good time to actually go and set up the one-way data extraction back out of HubSpot. Now, in our SaaS app, let's assume our application understands people. It doesn't necessarily understand the concept of companies, for example. So we want to use HubSpot as our primary source of company records, right? Now, if we look at our companies table, we've already defined what that sort of looks like. Now we just need to figure out how do we populate that. Luckily, HubSpot does a lot of the bulk work for us, so we're just going to take advantage of it. So the next question is, how do we get these companies, or any new company that is created, how do we get it back to Airtable so that we can actually associate our subscriptions into the companies? I dug around a little bit and I actually noticed there is a Airtable and HubSpot integration in the app marketplace, and it's going to be good enough for our purpose. So again, head over to the settings piece. It's this little cog up here. And what we want to do is find the connected apps section. Notice how high touch is already here, even though we've never been into this section before together. The reason it's here is because we had to authenticate the access for HubSpot back in high touch itself. So let's click on Visit App Marketplace and try to find our Airtable. Great. Select that. Skip all the instructions because we think we're better. No, just kidding. We're going to need the exact same API key here that we found, that we used earlier for high touch. Again, head over to the account section and copy over this key. Yeah. Why not? Let's set up a sync. So let's just start with the company sync. We'll actually end up creating a sync for contacts as well, but let's start with the companies because that's our most pressing need here. Episode 3, and here we have to choose the companies table. So we are creating a sync between HubSpot and Airtable, and the way some of these native bidirectional syncs work is that it prefers for it to be a two-way sync. That's why we sort of set it up in bulk instead of extraction is one thing and data synchronization is another one. But we'll get to that in a sec. So choose Airtable company name. So HubSpot in many ways relies on the actual company name to determine what is a unique record. It's not the best way to identify a company, but it is a HubSpot vibe, so we'll just go with it. Okay, and here comes the piece we talked about in the previous piece. We need to select a last modified time field so that this particular application knows how to when something should be updated. Okay, by default, it's gonna try to get you to do a bidirectional sync. We do not want that. Again, if we go back to the sort of our tech stack map here, we want to have a clear distinction between data that is sent to our CRM and data that is extracted out of the CRM. So ideally, these are separate items, just so that we can maintain control and potentially avoid some weird behaviors that some of these native sync tools come with. Okay, these Airtable companies will sync with HubSpot. So let's see so on the left-hand side, you just want to select no company records, and that will just sync companies over from HubSpot and not the other way around. Okay, I think that's more or less what we need here. Hit the review button, save and sync. Great. And the thing that we did forget to do is actually map the fields that we are interested in. So by default, it's going to sync over a company name. Let's see if it's already done it. Yep, so here you go. The 2 extra companies that we have here have made it to Airtable, but that's not enough for us. So let's just add a few pieces here. We want our main identifier, of course, that is the domain name. We want the we specified a country field, so let's do that as well. HubSpot's default will do. Okay, save and sync. That should be enough for now. And in case you want to sync some extra data over, all we have to do is head back to our Airtable piece, rename it to, no, you don't have to do that part. Let's say we also wanted to get the industry field from HubSpot, add it here to Airtable, head over back to HubSpot, and add a couple of fields. Should do it. Now notice that magically we now have a country value in here. This was not, we did not add this ourselves. And this is the result of the sync we just set up. So HubSpot, whenever there's a company, will send that over to our Airtable instance. And because we've decided to allow HubSpot to enrich our records with whatever data they have, country is something that they had on file for Paddle, which is great. Now we have that in our warehouse. Okay, so to recap, we are now able to sync contacts over to HubSpot from Airtable, and we are able to receive company data from HubSpot back into Airtable. Okay, before we move on to subscriptions, let's do one extra piece that is quite important, and that is syncing contacts out of HubSpot into our warehouse. We managed to do it now with the companies, and because we're planning to use HubSpot as our main marketing and sales CRM, might as well set up the one-way data extraction connection from HubSpot. If we go back into the Airtable app in HubSpot, head over to sync settings and click this button here that says sync more data. Select the second option that it presents us. Again, same story. We need to define where we're getting the data from, what are we using it to match, and what the last updated time stamp is. Easy, easy. Again, because we want to maintain control, we don't want there to be a two-way sync in this application. So we'll just select no contact records from the Airtable side, only sync contacts with an email address, correct. We're not really interested in random records that don't have a human identifier. Add a few fields here. Again, first name, for example. Yep. Last name. And this is where things get a little interesting. So let me actually start this up and talk about the website field again. So the website field is something we maintain. It is what we use to identify which company this person belongs to. But equally, when we're when we allow people to submit forms, they will tell us what the company is. And what we can do is also populate this website field from HubSpot. And that's exactly what we want to do. So again, let's go into our sync settings, edit the contact sync, map the field, and website is going to be company domain. Whoops. So you'll notice here that I'm not selecting any of these like basic options, email domain or any fields. I'm actually selecting the associated company company domain name. So this data does not come from the contact. It comes from the company that this person is associated to. So the HubSpot's already done the association. We just want to pull out the information of what that website is. Safest to do it this way. Great. Now now that we've set that up, let's have a look what happens when we add a contact in HubSpot. Let's do again. Let's use my paddle email. And let's say our website URL. That doesn't necessarily matter. So Ricky here, has been created, and now all we have to do is wait for him to arrive in Airtable. Okay, didn't take very long. Here we are. Ricky here is in our Airtable piece, and you'll notice that the website is paddle.com. This is because Ricky is associated to paddle.com. Great, it worked exactly as we wanted to.